that you aren't just responsible for yourself, but for the society too. Hey Vedant, how are you?
Fine, how are you, Anmol?
I am totally fine. So, after looking into Vedant's profile, me and Vedant connected through the society that Vedant is currently working for, or the club he's working for, that is Enactus. He's based out of Delhi University presently and studies in Karodimal College. He's doing his BCom honors over there. I generally, the first guess that I had from these guys was representing about the work done by Enactus, but I was very enthusiastic about the fact that, and I actually wanted to learn that how these guys were functioning, what their mindsets was. I have got my answer on that, but today I have Vedant for another reason. He's just been promoted to his second year of college right now in BCom honors through the Delhi University's laws that have been passed. But looking into his profile, he has the back end experience into investment banking and consulting at a very young age. So, Vedant, this is the introduction that I can give to my audience. Now, talking about, tell me something about yourself, Vedant.
Right. So, your introduction for me was extremely kind. Thanks a lot for that. As you rightly mentioned, I'm a second year student at Kirori Mill College, a BCom honors student, and I've been associated with Enactors for a while now. However, when you talk about societies, I think the last 8 to 9 months of my life have revolved around societies in college. Rightly so, because when you come into college, पढ़ाई पे ध्यान कम हो जाता है
Right.
क्योंकि तुम पढ़ के आए हो और वहां से तुम्हारा ध्यान जाता है मैं और क्या कर सकता हूँ. I joined multiple societies, and I think the fact that I've stuck within actors after giving efforts to all three societies that I was a part of, being a core team member at Enactus, I think that has been the driving force behind a lot of development that I've had in the past 8 or 9 months.
Right. So, Vedant, just tell me that what pushed you towards investment banking or consulting at a very young age? Because when I go through your profile, I see that you've done your virtual programs with BCG or you've worked with two of the leading investment banking firms as an intern. So, just tell me about your time at Tanhora Investment Management.
Right. So, I mean, if I would give you a little bit of a backdrop, I was supposed to be a science student.
Okay.
I come from an engineering family. I wanted to be an engineer. मैं 10th में कोचिंग गया मैंने realize करा कि नहीं मैं साइंस नहीं पढ़ पाऊंगा. And I got inclined towards commerce when I saw this one. So there's this guy called Grant Cardone, काफी
Okay.
famous YouTuber है. And his mindset is about making money. And I've realized over time that it is an increasingly capitalistic world. And if you want to give back, be a philanthropist, पहले पढ़ो कमाओ फिर कुछ कर पाओगे. So
Right.
I think the investment banking mindset comes from the fact that I like return from what I do. And monetary return से ज्यादा आज की डेट में लोग कुछ ही चीजें हैं जिनको वैल्यू कर पाते हैं.
You're
So
very
the
right.
investment banking mindset that comes to my head is because first of all I have a couple of people who've been banking in my family. So
Right.
उनसे थोड़ा backdrop मिल गया. Then once I started reading books like The Intelligent Investor, or
Right.
following a couple of hedge fund managers and reading about the 2008 financial crisis, it's not just about making money, it's about a machinery that is operating.
Right. You're very
एक
right.
फाइनेंस वर्ल्ड की इशू की वजह से पूरी वर्ल्ड इकोनॉमी रिसेशन में चली गई थी 2008 में.
You're very right.
That is what interests me the most, how everything is dependent on finance and banking. So that is where I move into investment banking in my head.
That is really nice. So, just talking about your initial experience at Amhara, just tell me how it was. What did you do? Because you were really young, you're just in your second year of college. You have had this
Right.
prior experience, and as you've communicated to me, that you look forward to a career into this. So, just
Exactly.
tell me what did you learn and how early, why did this early did you get into that firm, or how did you plan to get an internship this early?
Right. So I think one of the main reasons why I interned at Tamuhara, I think this is one problem that we've seen is people tend to go to personal contacts for internships in college life. I mean, I'm sure you've gone through it too. अच्छी internship चाहिए पहली चीज सीनियर बोलेगा personal contact ढूंढो.
Right.
So I don't take a lot of pride in it, but I've been very privileged to know people in the industry to find an internship through a personal contact. I think the first thing I learned was अपने आप को कभी भी किसी के ऊपर मत समझो. कॉर्पोरेट वर्ल्ड में ये चीज मान के चलनी चाहिए, चाहे फेस पे दिखाओ, अंदर से तुम सबसे नीचे हो. मैं उस ऑफिस में घुसा और मुझे पहले दिन डांट पड़ी कि
Hmm.
तुम 8:30 बजे आए. मुझे 8 बजे ऑफिस पहुंचना था और बॉम्बे जैसे शहर में 8 बजे ऑफिस पहुंचना इज अ पेन.
Hmm.
But over the course of my internship, the three things that I learned most was specific to the banking industry: research, 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 research. You
Right.
cannot operate without research. And second was analysis, analysis. So I worked under the research and analysis wing over there. So Tamohara is an investment management firm based out of Bombay. They usually work with high net worth individuals and family offices that invest higher amounts of money. And one more thing that I learned was how to present. So when you're interning anywhere, you tend to, be in the backdrop. You tend to operate on the back end. But I was very privileged to have the opportunity to, communicate with front end people, to communicate with people who deal with investors. And the last thing I would like to say is time management. The day I joined, I was given reports to read, and I was said weekend pe read karke Monday ko aana.
Right.
And I did not have the reading ability. So I think one thing that all of us need to realize before starting a work experience is you need to have a basic set of skills, which includes time management, which includes backing yourself. If you don't know how to do something, learn to do it.
Right.
Excuses की रूम नहीं है दुनिया में. और काम ऐसे करो. तमोहारा पे मैंने ये सीखा कि काम को इतने अच्छे से करो कि काम को गर्व हो कि तुम वो काम कर रहे हो.
You're very right. So, just Vedant, talking about the whole experience you had, well, some research and analysis part is proprietary to the firm on the way they
Mm-hmm.
operate. But
Mm-hmm.
talking in general sense, if you're talking to somebody, you've had a prior experience, right? If someone in my guest list or my viewers are interested in researching, but not
Right.
such propriety issues that go behind it, but what general, I'd say, websites or portals they can use, or how do you analyze the writings that are in front of you? How do we develop a mindset of solving a problem? As you've studied in air, your topic was air conditioning industry in India,
Right. Right.
right? So
Right.
the industries may vary from viewer to viewer, the type of intrusion they have to a particular industry. So how does
Mm-hmm.
this research happen? How do you analyze? How do you find the right fit of content? What is your mindset while doing that?
Right. So my research was based on a subsector, which is the air cooling industry. The coolers you find. So in specific, I researched about Symphony, which is a air cooler brand, and Blue Star.
Right.
So when I talk about the process of research, research is not something that you fire up your laptop and you start looking for something. Suppose I'm looking at the air conditioning industry. You need to have guidelines in mind. कितनी भी broad हो कि पहले set करो कि तुम्हारा goal क्या है research से.
Right.
तुम्हें चाहिए क्या. फिर तुम उसको बैक वर्क करो कि ये मुझे कहाँ से मिल सकता है. You look for reliable sources. So as a banking individual, as a banking research individual, I looked for brokerage reports. Now
Right.
I saw HDFC brokerage reports. You have to draw conclusions. So they have their own conclusions, but when you're doing research from the ground up, you do not rely on conclusions. You rely on figures. So you look at the figures, you look at the whole story of the company. मेरे को सिम्फनी के फिगर्स पहुंचने में 2 हफ्ते लगे. मैंने
Right.
2 हफ्ते सिर्फ उसकी पूरी स्टोरी पढ़ी जब से स्टार्ट हुआ तब से आज तक. फिर
Right.
फिगर्स देखे. And the last thing I would say is go to the ground to research. Don't सीधा ready research मत ढूंढो. रिसर्च रिपोर्ट्स में बहुत वैल्यूबल इंफॉर्मेशन मिलती है, बट वो बहुत इन्फ्लुएंस्ड भी होती है.
Right.
आपको इंडिया के बारे में, इंडियन इकोनॉमी के बारे में देखना है, आप मिनिस्ट्री की वेबसाइट पे जाओ.
Hmm.
आपको ग्लोबल इकोनॉमी के बारे में कुछ देखना है, वर्ल्ड बैंक पे जाओ, आईएमएफ पे जाओ, आपको सारा डेटा मिल जाएगा. कई बार बहुत टाइम लग जाता है, बट पेशेंस इज की व्हेन इट कम्स टू रिसर्च एंड नॉट बीइंग डिस्ट्रैक्टेड. A practice that I've realized working at a couple of corporate banking worlds is that they asked me to put my phone away. It wasn't a rule, it
Right.
was a preference. I put my phone away in a common basket and I worked. 3 घंटे हो गए, 4 घंटे हो गए, 5 घंटे हो गए, मुझे पता नहीं चला कि कितना टाइम हुआ, क्योंकि फोन सामने नहीं था. So I think
Right.
phone is a boon and a bane, but we need to realize that when you're working, work with full efficiency and give your best.
Right. So, Vedant, coming to my next question, you've recently completed your virtual program with PCG. Well, the
Right.
portals such as Insightfera are giving people or students an opportunity where they can actually experience the corporate world, or they can actually put in their efforts to earn a certificate or earn
Right.
a reward on behalf of that. So, how do
Mm-hmm.
you see virtual programs changing the internship space in India? Well, you've practically experienced a consulting firm and you've done a virtual experience with
Mm-hmm.
BCG. Well, we totally think about the fact that yeah, we agree on the terms that yeah, obviously you can't replace the physical presence over and the amount of pressure that goes into, because you're very leisuring in the whole virtual program phase. So
Mm-hmm.
how
Mm-hmm.
do you see when you compare both of these, coming into the finance aspect of it? How do you see that these two are different, and how much value do they provide individually?
Mm-hmm. Right. So I think drawing parallels, to a real world internship and a digital internship. One thing that I would like to point out is conversations and communication. Communicating with somebody, water cooler conversations कहते हैं, that you're walking across the hall, you meet somebody working there and you start a chat. वो नहीं हो सकती डिजिटल में. They you don't get informal life lessons from people in the industry. I think that is one curtain that has developed in the digital internship sector. So I think Inside Sherpa is providing a great opportunity for students to work with such big firms like BCG, Citibank का भी है, and
Right,
they've got them for all kinds of sectors. They have it for tech, they have it for finance, accounting, consulting, engineering, everything, even law. So I think in times like these, when it's actually really hard to get an internship at a very reputable firm, this is the way to go. Right now, you can't travel to an office. You cannot sit for an interview one on one with a recruiter. So I think this is the way to go for now, and it gives you an insight into how the firms operate, how BCG does its research, how it presents its research, how it talks to clients. So I think that one thing that I learned the most was presentation. तुम
right,
कुछ भी रिसर्च कर लो, बट अगर तुम उसे प्रेजेंट नहीं कर सकते, it doesn't matter. So I think I learned a lot of research from Tamohara and the presentation through this. You
right,
have to learn from everywhere. You cannot stop learning. जो opportunity मिले, take it and do it.
right. So, Vedant, we see that LinkedIn, well, as we grow up, right, we realize the fact that Instagram, Facebook, or the Snapchat, or all these social portals we were using are becoming useless. And they aren't useless exactly, but by age we realize that something called
Hmm.
LinkedIn or Naukri.com is becoming much
Hmm.
more essential. Right,
Right.
having a LinkedIn presence is having a digital resume on site.
Right. Right.
Right. I know that you personally use LinkedIn a lot. Right. You are very
Hmm.
active on that. We connected on that.
Hmm.
How important, well, it is very important for a person like me who may be seeking job in a year or two, but you're actually very young. You're into
Hmm.
your graduation. So what is the purpose that people like you or students so early in your age get into that and utilizing this platform? What opportunities do you seek on LinkedIn?
Right. So, Anmol, I think, as you rightly mentioned, social media platforms have become extremely synonymous with what we do these days. पूरा पूरा दिन हमारा social media पे निकल जाता है, हमें पता नहीं लगता. So, Facebook, Instagram are your personal or your social profiles. It is equally important to have a professional profile. LinkedIn is also a digital media platform at the end of the day,
Right.
right? So you need to create a profile over there for people in the professional world to come and see what you're doing, what your experience has been. Recruiters, I've heard stories of people who put up whatever they do on LinkedIn. They're active on LinkedIn, they write articles, they update, communicate. Recruiters notice and they pick you up from nothing. People are getting opportunities. People, as I mentioned earlier, तुम कुछ भी करो मगर अगर तुम उसे present और market नहीं कर सकते, it gets lost somewhere. And LinkedIn gives you that opportunity to present yourself, to market yourself. If I had been doing 10 kinds of things but I'm not letting the world know,
Right.
I'm losing out on two things. One, my presentation of what I'm doing, and two, the opportunity for Mr. X or somebody who doesn't know the opportunities that there are. So I think the benefit is twofold.
Right. So Vedant, I've been through your articles on LinkedIn. So I
Right,
recently went through one of yours of the students by the students for the students, right? So
right.
I've been through your articles. Just tell me that you've talked about your presentation skills there, right? You've told me about the amount of, you know, having a virtual image or presentation is important for a student to seek opportunities. So
Mm-hmm.
first of all, just tell me about that article of yours that you wrote. And I'd also like you to mention about the failure theory of success that you have talked about in one of your articles, because that thing
Right.
really struck me, and I feel it is such a necessity to understand that how
Mm-hmm.
important it is to have a successful failure. You've talked very beautifully about it. Just give me a little brief and to the audience that what does the article talk about and what were your
Right.
feelings behind writing that.
So I'll answer this in a twofold manner. First of all, talking about the students' article. I remember 1 year ago, right now, uh, we were looking for Delhi University admissions to start, and I was lost, frankly. All my peers and my batchmates were lost. We were struggling to find seniors to connect with who are studying in our dream colleges, who've been through the process that we have to guide us, to help us out. क्योंकि पहले था कि बोर्ड्स में नंबर कैसे आएंगे, नंबर आ गए तो था नंबर का करेंगे क्या, कहाँ पे एडमिशन लें, वो भी हो गया तो ये कॉलेज अच्छा है कि ये कॉलेज अच्छा है. तो आई थिंक फॉर अ स्कूल स्टूडेंट it is extremely necessary to have a LinkedIn account because you start early, you have the first mover advantage there. And the first thing that we were told at society or organizational orientations was, do you have a LinkedIn account? Because
Right.
they want to go through your LinkedIn account, right? It's a digital resume, as you rightly mentioned. So it gives you networking, it gives you opportunities, it gives you a way to present yourself. अगर कल को मुझे जानना है कि कंसल्टिंग के वर्ल्ड में कोई इवेंट हो रहा है या मैं किस रिक्रूटर को अप्रोच करूं, I can shoot a post on LinkedIn and my connections will help me out, tag people in comments. So I think there is nothing better than that platform for students. And we as the student community need to be together to help our juniors. And in some cases our seniors as well. Nobody is exposed, to LinkedIn to an extent that others are.
Right.
I'm also at a very preliminary conjuncture here. There's people who have multiple thousands of connections. There's people who have followers. There's people who do regular meetups or events on Zoom through LinkedIn.
Right.
I think that is extremely necessary right now. It helps you to put some light on what you're doing and helps others to gain from that light.
Right. So Vedant, this is my concluding question to you. You had rightly mentioned about the book The Intelligent Investor. Right. I am a big fan of that book. मतलब keeping in mind, I want you must have been reading a lot regarding consulting or the startups or the whole business idea of it. Just tell me that if I had to, मतलब, if you were given an option to pick three business books that have helped you grow and that might help the society, what three books would you recommend and why?
That is a really good question. I think one would be The Intelligent Investor for sure,
Yeah, for
because
sure.
I'm leaning towards the investment banking and value investing side. The next one would be Zero to One.
Right.
So that's a book by Peter Thiel. It talks about entrepreneurship. It talks about certain principles of entrepreneurship. It is not a short winning strategy, but it gives you an insight into that world. Peter Thiel in today's date is a world class investor and a world class entrepreneur. And the third book that I'm reading these days is something called The Big Short, which is about the 2008 financial crisis.
Right.
I think it has made me learn a lot about the finance world, about how everybody is very greedy over there.
Right.
And one book I would like to mention, if I may, that I have only recently started is this book right here. It's called Failing to Succeed.
Right.
It is about India's first e-commerce platform that never took off. It came to India before Amazon, but the guy failed. But he talks about failing to succeed, and I talk about succeeding at failure. So,
Right.
continuing on the succeeding to failure thesis, we've all failed. We failed in school, not in class necessarily, with opportunities, anything at all. And I have failed my fair share too. But in my opinion, तुम कुछ भी करो, फेलियर से नहीं बच सकते, राइट? तुम एफर्ट ना डालो, तुम फेल हो जाओगे. तुम बहुत एफर्ट डालो, तुम तब भी फेल हो सकते हो.
Right.
उससे डरना नहीं चाहिए. तुम फेल हो जाओ, कोई नहीं भाई, वापस खड़े हो जाओ. As I said in my book, you will be knocked down by punches of failure. On you to get back up, take the hit, and hit the ground running. Just because you fail once does not mean you're a failure. You're a failure in your own eyes if you give up. But
Right.
never give up and always keep hustling.
Yeah, right. Hustle is the right word, man. So, Vedant, concludingly, I'd like to say that a very big thanks for giving us your time. And
Thanks a lot.
I pray that you succeed a lot and the endeavors that you've taken up in Actis with all the projects, the beautiful projects that you're going doing for the community or on personal behalf, the efforts that you're putting in to grow in the investment field or the amount of effort that personally an individual puts in to succeed. We might think that this is something we are doing for ourselves, but
Mhm.
thinking correspondingly, a lot of people are affected by it. Tomorrow might be a time that you may be employing somebody, or you are an employee of somebody. You're running their households. In both the cases,
Right,
right? You may start, you may fail, and you'll walk again proudly. I assure you that the amount of
right.
efforts that you put in. So, right, Vedant, thanks for connecting, and I hope we stay in touch. Thanks.
Thanks a lot and more.